Hey guys, welcome back. Part 7 of my saga. Okay, so in my last video, I think I stopped where I had been studying with the super nice sister that I can't remember her name, and she had just told me why we believed that 1914 was significant. And our reasons for believing that were like pretty nonsensical, and I could see that. Okay, so do I want to go from here? So many things that happened. So okay, I talked to my husband. First of all, my grandfather, my papa, my dad's dad, he died. He died around this time. It was a pretty horrible death. It was kind of a shock, and it was kind of he was hit by a car. It was really, really horrible. He was helping my grandmother who had run out of gas on the side of the road, and somebody who had been, partying that day just hit him, and it was a horrible thing. So, if I was any closer to waking up at this point, I was right back in. It's kind of like what happened to me around 9/11. I was kind of on my way to waking up. If I had just kind of stayed doing what I was doing for a while longer, or stayed with my mom, I think I would have woken up sooner. But 9/11 really pushed me back in. In this situation, studying with that woman, even though she was amazing and I wanted her to just adopt me, the things she was telling me didn't make any sense, and I knew it. So I was married to a man who was kind of an intellectual, and trying very hard to nudge me in the right direction. Try as he might, he couldn't. But I was on my way. But when my grandfather died, it was like because he was such a strong in the religion, and I wanted to see him again. I loved my grandpa. Oh my God, I loved him so much. He was so nice to me. So when he died and the way he died, it was just really horrible, and it really pushed me back in. It's interesting how things like that happen, like how something, I bet that's happening a lot right now with COVID. How you can be on your way and then something really scary or troubling happens, and then boom, you're just right back in, I don't know. It's interesting how, how life unfolds, I guess. Excuse me. So I was right back in, around this time, I took that year. So my grandfather died in February, and then we had district convention in July. And I begged my husband at the time to take me to at least one day. I wanted to go to the drama day of the assembly. I hadn't been to a meeting in years. I hadn't been to a meeting. Maybe I went to one or two after I moved out of my dad's when I turned 18, but I couldn't even name the last time I'd actually been to a meeting. And I didn't have a car still, and I still didn't have a driver's license. And so my husband drove us everywhere, and I was like, please, please, please take me to the district convention just to one day. In fact, we can just go to the afternoon because I don't want to get up early. So I was so excited because I knew that once he got to the district convention and he saw how nice everyone was and like how much love there was, and he was just going to know it was the truth. He was just going to feel it. And then we were going to go to the meeting together and have babies and be like, good Jehovah's Witnesses like I always wanted. And he was going to be an elder, and gross. And so God bless him. He is just he was so patient with me. So he took me to the district convention. When we walked in, I was all smiles and ready for love bombing, and nobody even looked at us. I saw people I knew and would like wave, and they either thought I was disfellowshipped or didn't recognize me, so nobody cared, right? And I was like, shit, well, that doesn't make us look very good. When we went out to go find a seat, there was a guy that did stand there and help us, and he was really, really nice. And I was like, thank God, I really need you guys to, pick up the pace on the niceness. Yeah. So we can indoctrinate my husband. So I'll never forget it. This was the last time I ever went to a Jehovah's Witness function of any kind. I never went to another meeting. I never went to the memorial or any more assemblies after this. This was in 2005, summer of 2005, district convention. So we walked into a talk about Harry Potter. Yeah, Harry Potter is bad. I didn't know that because I did know that. But I didn't think that it's something we need to talk about in the convention. I didn't think this was food of the proper time. I'm just, really, Harry Potter? So I was instantly embarrassed. Oh, so embarrassed that my husband was hearing this. You know, I'm sorry, but let me digress one more time. So I do have a story about Harry Potter and how evil Harry Potter is. So, there was this woman in the congregation in the newer one that I went to with my stepmom and her children's congregation. There was this couple, and they were like super dorky. They were probably like, I don't know, maybe mid to late 30s, and they were just like total nerds, right? And they had lots of video games. They didn't have kids. They were like kids themselves. They loved video games, and they had lots of toys and like, you know, just cool dorky stuff. And the wife they were also like two super intelligent and really funny people, and I just loved them. Everyone loved them. But the wife was a big reader, and I was a big reader. I read voraciously when I was a kid and a teenager. I always had a book, and she gave me a whole series of books about like dragons and princesses, and you know, all of it. It was Talking to Dragons, the series. She gave me all these books, and I thought they were amazing. She started giving me more books, you know, like kind of fantasy style books, and I just couldn't get enough of them. And then one day she gave me the first two Harry Potter books, and they were brand new. They had just come out. I didn't know anything about them, but I read the first one and I was like, oh, this rocks, right? So I even wrote my book report about the first Harry Potter book, and I couldn't wait to get started on the second one. So there was a talk like right around that time about how bad Harry Potter was. And my dad went in my room and got those books and took them back to her. And so I never got to read the second one. And I was kind of in trouble for having them. And she quit giving me books after that. My dad was like, we don't want your worldly books. But because of that, I have never seen the Harry Potter movies. I don't know anything that happens after the Sorcerer's Stone. I never read the rest of the books. Kind of sucks too, because I really, really like that one. So I did know that Harry Potter is like not okay. And a quick thing too about that sister, I don't remember her name either, but my stepmom, this is why I don't trust her. Her and my stepmom had been really, really good friends for a while before me and my dad were in her life. And I guess this woman one day told my stepmom that they couldn't hang out anymore. They couldn't be friends because she was a lesbian. And she was starting to have feelings for my stepmom. And so she couldn't be around her anymore because she was gay and actively suppressing that. And her, I guess this is something her husband knew, like that she's a lesbian, right? And so they quit being friends. They quit hanging out because she started to have a crush on my stepmom. Just, number one, why would you tell people about that? I think that's really, really mean that she told me about that. I was like 13, you know. She's spreading that information around about probably one of the nicest, coolest people I ever knew. Like, oh my God, I thought she was great. I still think she's great. But yeah, she's just, it's just an example of how sad witness life can be. Anyway, sorry. Let's go back to the district convention in 2005. So there was this long rant about Harry Potter and how evil it is, which was embarrassing because Harry Potter is it's just some stupid books, man. It's just like stuff for kids. Like, relax, you know? I don't understand how that's bad, but like other things are okay. So, like, this is all about magic, right? But so is The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Like, how are those things okay? But like, this is bad. You know what I mean? Um, or like, when my dad was growing up, he wasn't allowed to go see the Star Wars movies, but he could watch Star Trek. Like, what's the friggin' difference? So, anyway, sorry, I do know that there's a difference. I'm a huge Trekkie. But it's just there's a lot of double standards. So I was terribly embarrassed that that's the first thing he heard. I didn't even look at him because I knew that he was mad. The next thing was one of those examples, where they'll get some people to come up on stage from their congregation or whatever. And the woman that got up there was an elder's wife. And she was up there to share her experience of having to be humble and look to her husband as her head, because she is you could tell too while you were listening to her. She's just a really vivacious, kind of a loud, big personality kind of woman. And I can see right away that she's probably married to some little wimpy guy, because I don't think she would be able to be married to a man with as big a personality as her. There's nothing wrong with having a big personality, nothing at all. A lot of times a woman needs something like that, because you can get taken advantage of a lot in this world. And someone like her, I mean, outside of her being taken advantage of by the cult that she's in, I think it's good that she's, got this a strong will. But she talked about how she was, kind of taking over in the household, and how she had to step back and like realize that her husband is her spiritual head and let him lead her. And it was just about having to censor yourself and change your personality so that a man can take the lead over you. You know what I mean? Like, it was horrifying. I was grossed out by hearing that. I had been out for so long that here, once you come back after you've been gone a very long time, a lot of the stuff that they say just is like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? And that the two talks that we heard, they were both like that. Just, I was embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And I looked over at my husband and he was livid. He was so livid by what he was listening to. It was disgusting that this woman would have to change herself in order to humble herself because she has the wrong genitals. So that was awful. So we left right after that. We didn't stay for the whole thing. I think I told him, all right, I'm ready to leave. And so we left and we didn't talk to anybody. And on the drive home, we didn't really talk to each other. At the end of the assembly, like when I would drive home with my family, we would all talk about everything, all the talks and everything. And I was kind of hoping we would do that. And it was so embarrassing and so awful that we didn't discuss it. So I don't want to go too much into the details of my marriage, but our marriage did not go well. Needless to say, I was way too young to be married to a man. And he was way too grown up and way too smart to be married to a teenager. Sorry, my camera keeps dying, so hopefully I'll be able to splice these two things together. Okay, so I was saying, I was too young to be married to a man. He was too old to be married to a kid, and I don't understand why he would marry me in the first place. I was obviously in a cult, and I don't know, our marriage was weird. So we got divorced, or I moved out. So I moved out in 2007. I moved out in 2007. And it was really, really difficult because I was a hairdresser. I was doing hair, and I just wasn't really making a whole lot of money because of me. Totally my own fault. I was kind of moving around salons a lot and just I was just really young and immature, and I didn't understand what I needed to do to make money in that industry. So I really blew it. I blew it there. So while we were married, that was okay because he made enough money for me to just kind of, make little, a tiny bit of money. So, but once I moved out, it was like, okay, I need to make a living, and I need insurance, and I need, all these things. So, I went ahead and got into the apartment management industry because that's what my mom had done, my whole life, or most of my life. And, you get a rent discount and blah, blah, blah. Um, so I went ahead and got into that industry. My grandma had bought me a really lemon of a car. It was a 1989 Corsica that just every drop of oil I ever put in it just came directly out. So every time I started it, I had to put an entire, quart or whatever those things are of oil in. It was awful. And I started doing that thing that you just do in your, early 20s, which is just struggle and starve. Because I had really gone straight from like mom and dad to my husband, and I had never been on my own. I had never paid rent. I just got my driver's license because I had to. I was just really in the grown-up world for the first time, so I was a little taken aback, and I had no money, and it was just way more expensive than I thought it was going to be. So, but you know what? I was doing really good. Even though I was struggling and, hungry and, just living off top ramen, I was really proud of myself. I was scared every day that I was going to lose my job or, lose my apartment or something, but I was really happy that I was like doing this job that was really hard. Apartment management is difficult, and just really killing it. Like my bosses loved me, and I was good at that. And I felt very, very proud of myself. I was so proud of myself. Um, so my dad, he knew that me and my husband were split. Um, and he knew why. Like, my husband had been a little unfaithful. So, he knew about all that and everything, but he was still mad at me for leaving. And so he just kind of started soft shunning me, which was weird, right? Because maybe he was mad because I quit studying. I'm not sure really. But he seemed like he was okay. Like he was giving me some space and like still being in my life until me and my husband were like Splitsville. And I felt like I had pretty compelling reasons to leave. And my husband at the time was good with me leaving. Like we were pretty amicable about the whole thing, which is why we're still friends. So it wasn't even like he was still helping me out with stuff like, it wasn't a nasty thing, but it was just for the best, right? But my dad started to soft shun me, and I wasn't disfellowshipped or anything. Like nothing had changed. The only thing that had changed was that I was standing on my own 2 feet for the first time in my life, and I wasn't on drugs. Like I was doing so good. I was so proud of myself. So one day, excuse me, this calls for a sip of tea. So one day, I was in my office, and I don't remember what had happened, but I think I tried to call my dad or text him or something, and he was just like really short with me. No, I'm sorry. I remember what happened. I had a job interview. I had a job interview for a new job, a better paying company in the apartment industry, and but in order to apply for it, I had to drive all the way out to like this kind of far away city, and I didn't have any money for gas, and I was driving that Corsica, which just sucked down gas. It was such a piece of crap, but I loved it anyway. So I told my dad, I'm kind of desperate here. So he was like, okay, no problem. Just go by my house. And my stepmom was there. He's like, go by the house, and I'm gonna leave $20 here for you. So just she'll give it to you for gas. I'm like, thank you so much. So I drove over there, and my stepmom is upstairs looking out the window, right, with the window opens. She sees that I'm coming. And she has a twin sister who is completely, utterly insane. She is terribly insane. I really, really think that maybe she was dropped on her head. And her husband, who's also just as insane as she is, the two of them come out. I'm like, hi. And they just start screaming at me like obscenities. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What happened? I don't even remember what they were mad about, but I'm mean to my stepmom. That's what they were. You're mean to her, and you're awful, and you are the worst you are such a bitch, and blah. I'm like, oh my God, I was invited here. This is my house that I grew up in. So I just turned around and I left. And what was really funny is that I had my boyfriend, I was dating this guy, and he was with me, and we got back in the car and we were leaving. I'm shaking. I was so scared. And my stepmom saw the whole thing. She didn't come out and try to stop it. He says, are they Jehovah's Witnesses? I said, yeah. I thought Jehovah's Witnesses were nice. So I called my dad and told him what happened. He was livid. And then I told him what my boyfriend said. And he's like, oh, well, tell him that we're not all like that. Tell him that Liz, she's just crazy and her husband's crazy. I'm like, yeah, too late for that. Anyway, I think I don't remember how I got the money, but after that, he was soft shunning me, and I wrote him this email, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing really good. I got that job, and they love me. They love me, and I'm getting all kinds of, awards and attaboys, and I'm not making any money, and I'm hungry, and I can't afford to turn on my heat, so I'm cold too. But I am really proud of myself, and I just wish that you would be proud of me too. I'm doing all this stuff because I want you to be proud of me. You know how you feel about just having your parents be proud of you? And I mean, coming from where I had come from, which was on meth and on suicide watch in a mental hospital, I was really, really proud of myself. And I should be. I'm still proud of that. And I was like, I just wish that we could be friends again, be close. And I really expected him to be like, yeah, you know what? Let's get together. Let's go have dinner or something. That's not what I got back. I got back this email that was amazing. It was a very long email, and it was, well, honey, you're worldly, so I can't really be around you. And you know why. And you know what you need to do to get me back. And, at this point, if you had children, I wouldn't be around them. I wouldn't want to be in their life because you would have them celebrating Christmas. So this is the pivotal moment. I'm at work. I'm at my desk, at my computer. I open up this email and I read it. And I'm glad that I was the only one working in there that day. That's the moment. That was the moment that I woke up, was reading this. Because you know how watchtowers sound? Like when you read it, like it has a very specific sound because it's like worded in a very specific way. And you can just tell that it's a watchtower, right? That's what he sounded like. I felt like I was reading a watchtower and not an email from my dad. It was weird. It was weird, and it felt creepy for the first time. He referred to himself as a normal, loving father. As a normal, loving father, I'm happy that you're doing well, but I also care, it was weird. And then I was awake instantaneously. And it was the only thing I can describe it as is like being literally living your entire life in blackout cave darkness and then having someone just switch the lights on you. Like that is how jarring it was. Like never seeing anything ever, and then suddenly being able to see everything for the first time, just all at once. And it was the most shocking moment of my life. And it was the defining moment of my life, for sure. And I got up and I turned the "we're closed" sign on the door, locked up, got in my car, and I left. And I just drove down to a grocery store, and I parked, and I just sobbed uncontrollably in the parking lot in my car. And I wasn't sobbing so much about what my dad had said. I was sobbing because it was the Jehovah's Witnesses. It was them. It's Watchtower. Something's wrong, and it's with that religion. That's what's wrong. I had told him that I had a friend, kind of a friend, who was a heroin addict, and his mom and dad were like Lutherans or something, non-denominational Christian. I'm not sure, but they stayed in touch with him because they wanted to try and help him. And they were also really nice to me. And he wasn't really my friend. His girlfriend was my friend. But she lived with them. And they were so nice. And he put them through so much, but they always tried. They still tried. And I wrote about him, like, you don't talk to me at all. And I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, all I'm doing is just, kicking ass at everything I try. And then, these people who are Christians, and their son is a piece of crap. He's horrible. I would throw him out, but they don't. Like, and they still talk to him, and they still keep him around. Like, so what's the difference here? And he's like, well, they should throw him out. So as I'm sitting there sobbing in my car, I called my boyfriend. He answered, and I just said, Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. And he said, I know. Everyone knows that, except for you. And it sounds harsh, but I needed to hear that. So I started wondering about the apostates. The only thing I really knew about apostates was, that they would stand outside our district convention with signs. And I was terrified of them. I wouldn't even look at them. We were walking. Oh, they were so scary to me. In fact, my dad had brought a Bible study to a district convention once, and because he didn't understand this is so weird. Think about what that would be like, like for the first time for someone who's never been a witness. So when we got in the car to leave, he asked my dad, hey, that stuff they said, is that true? And he's like, what are you talking about? And so he said, I don't even remember what it was, but my dad just turned off the car and got out his Bible and looked at me and was like, can you believe we have to go through all of this because of the apostates? And it's kind of like, I was like, well, yeah, the apostates are bad, but don't make him feel bad for asking questions. I think what was happening was my dad was embarrassed because whatever it was that the apostate said, he really didn't know how to answer it. So he pulled out his Bible, and it took him like half an hour to piece something together. Anyway, I started to wonder what they were saying. What did all that mean? That someone at the Tacoma Dome in Washington State, my whole life, had a sign that they would hold up that said 1914 with a line through it, 1925 with a line through it, 1975 with a line through it. And I would see that sign every year because that was the only one that that person brought, and be like, what does all that mean? This time, but now I was like, that means something, they know something, and I really, really needed to know what they knew. Excuse me. So this was 2007, and I was broke as shit, so I didn't have internet access or anything. So I went to the library. I went straight from that grocery store. I didn't even go back to work. I think I went back at 6 and closed up for good, but I couldn't go back. I went straight to the library, and I checked out every book that they had about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I ordered all the books that were in the system that they didn't have that there that day, and I took home a stack of books, like 7 or 8 books, and I had a bunch of books coming, and I devoured every single book that I got my hands on. Um, it was traumatizing. It was traumatizing. Some of it I was a little like, I don't know. Some of this sounds like supposition or rumor. Um, and then I got Crisis of Conscience, and I ordered that for myself, and I bought it. And that book changed my life. I don't think you can read that book and not wake up. Raymond Franz did such a good thing. He his life, if all he's remembered for is that book, then he is a lifesaver. He saved lives, just his very presence on this earth. Um, so then I started looking, got into 1925, and what's frustrating for me is that I don't know if a lot of you guys remember this, but when the Proclaimers books came out, the big giant green ones, I remember reading through that with my dad. I was little, and he was showing me, the Watchtower did admit a lot of things. They admitted that there was Bessarim, and they kind of admitted in that book that Russell thought Armageddon was coming in 1914. They said all of that. But they kind of worded it in a way that was like, look how far we've come. Isn't this exciting? It wasn't like, look at our false predictions, and look at what a false prophet we are, and look at how this man in the depression era, when his followers were starving, was living in a mansion in San Diego, deeded to Moses or whatever. So I knew about all that. I remember that in that book, and my dad reading it to me, and we were kind of like, that's so cute. So it's surprising to me that a lot of people don't know, or they didn't know anything about Bessarim or about the pyramids and stuff. Like, a lot of that stuff was in the Proclaimers book. But it was kind of my generation when that came out. People who have come into the religion since then, they're not going to know anything about the Proclaimers book, I'm sure. What really upset me was the 1925 thing. That pissed me off. I bought Millions Now Living Will Never Die, which I had heard of before. I'd heard of that book, and it was the same kind of thing, like, oh, that's cute. But now I'm looking at it like, well, that's a freaking lie. He was a false prophet. That is a bald-faced lie. The title alone should tell you that this is wrong. I read it. That was the only one of the older books that I read, because I just couldn't handle it. Anyway, this is when Facebook was becoming not Facebook, I'm sorry, MySpace. This is when MySpace was becoming a thing. Facebook was still kind of, lesser known. Everybody was on MySpace at this time. So I discovered MySpace, and I could only be on it at work, because I didn't have internet at home, but I made all of the, the cardinal mistakes that you're not supposed to make when it comes to social media. I made them right away, and I made them on MySpace. So I'm not even on social media anymore, but I posted a lot of this stuff that I was finding online. I shared it to MySpace, and I had a whole blog about all this stuff I was discovering. I was amazed that I had been lied to. I was amazed. I was furious. I was just furious that this had happened to me, and that my family was still in it, and that I didn't know any of this stuff. I just, it's just shocking, because you look at people who are in culture who have these crazy things happen to them. It's always someone else, right? It's not you. It's not going to happen to you. And certainly it's not your religion. You're not in a cult. Jim Jones, that was a cult, but you're, and then when you realize, holy shit, I'm in a cult. It's like surreal. It was surreal, so I was very angry in the beginning. And I took my email from my dad, and that he had written me that was so weird and just silly. And posted it to MySpace with commentary from me. And I didn't know that I was being MySpace stalked by a friend of my grandmother's, who is crazy, by the way. This crazy woman. And she took all that stuff and showed it to my grandmother, who took it and showed it to my dad, and I was outed. So I really, you know what? I wish I could take that back. If I could change anything about that whole situation, it would be that, and like how that whole thing went down. I wish that I hadn't posted. I wish that I had just made my entire MySpace private so that no one could, no one could read it unless I sent it to them or something. But, I didn't understand how social media worked. It was literally my introduction to it. So, I think my dad emailed me, or no, one of my cousins had told me, your dad knows, he's read it all. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. And he wrote to me something or called me, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but he's like, I don't think that email I wrote you was that bad. And I was like, okay. And that was pretty much it. And he didn't speak to me again for, oh my God, probably a year or so. My grandma didn't speak to me either. It was kind of weird. Like, I thought it was going to be terrible, and then like nothing happened. They just stopped talking to me. So I guess I kind of got off easy there too, especially with my dad. I'm still kind of afraid of getting in trouble with him because he can be kind of crazy. So anyway, in 2008, my grandmother died. Not my dad's mom, my mom's mom, out in Missouri. And that was rough. All of my family that was up in Washington that was going to go to the funeral, they were witnesses, and they were, one of them, my cousin that had been my best friend when I was little, the one that I wanted to live next door to in Missouri that I was just crazy about. She wrote me a hate mail when she found out that I had apostatized or whatever the word is. She wrote me the meanest, nastiest, most horrifying thing I'd ever read. She hated my guts. And it was crazy. I never said a word to her. I just got this email from her out of the blue, and it was vitriolic. It was like she wouldn't piss on me if I were on fire. Anyway, I had to fly back to Missouri with her. So we went down there for my grandmother's funeral. It was hard. I was staying with an aunt and uncle of mine. After the funeral, I got back to their place, and I got on their computer to check my email. And my grandma, my dad's mom, I think I had written her an email just saying that I miss you and I love you or something like that. And she wrote me an email back saying, well, you've left Jehovah, so we don't have anything else to talk about. And that was it. And so it was a really rough day because I lost both of my grandmothers in one day. And she didn't speak to me for 11 years or something. 10 years. And I continue to write her letters, I never wanted to, I always wanted to have the attitude of, I'm not going to shut you out. You are shutting me out, but I'm not going to do that. So I wrote her letters. She had the same phone number since I was a baby. So I call her every once in a while. She never answered, and I'd leave her a voicemail. Just say, I miss you. I'm just thinking about you. Hope you're okay. I love you. Here's my number if you'd like to call me back. Wrote her an email or two, I think. She never wrote me back. I'm dead to her, right? So it's kind of getting us closer to today. My dad and me's relationship was kind of hot and cold. He didn't completely shun me. I think after about, it took him, no, I think it took him about 2 years. And then he finally spoke to me again. I don't even remember what the context was, because by that point I didn't really care. Um, and yeah, I mean, he moved away, he moved to another state, and then I moved around, and I got a really good job, where I kind of get to travel around a lot. And yeah, my dad now is kind of in my life. It kind of brings me up to some of my uh, videos that are still up, just about what it's been like with him, with his drinking, when he got sick. Um, so yeah, I think that's probably a good place to stop, because since then, my life has been incredibly normal, with the exception of my dad and his religion. I really feel like my life has been uh, just a really normal life, where I have gotten to, I was able to switch careers away from the apartment industry, which I hated. I was good at it, but I certainly didn't like it very much. And it didn't pay very well. I was able to get a much better job that pays really well, that I really like to do, and move around the country and meet a lot of new people. And I met my husband, who is like my husband now. uh, is like a soulmate to me. Um, and just he's changed so much about me. Having him in my life has changed that cynicism and that sarcasm that I had about love and relationships. I'm just so fortunate now, and because I was able to wake up so young. I was 21 or 22 when I actually woke up. Uh, I feel like I've gotten to spend the best years of my life. I have baggage. This witness thing is definitely baggage, but um, I've been able to live a fairly normal life, and experience a lot of normal things, and put up Christmas lights, and say happy birthday. And I get to eat the cupcake now. Just really, really fortunate. I'm really fortunate. I'm really happy uh, with the direction of my life now. I can't imagine if I was still a witness. In about 2012, 11 or 12, I went through all of these years. I woke up, and there was this initial, I need all this information, right? So I just read all the books and blah blah blah. Kind of had to. I dealt with all that alone. So I didn't really have anyone to talk to. My mom was, I'm the one that kind of woke her up. I gave her Crisis of Conscience, and I just said, read this book. And then she was awake. So, I mean, she was just kind of living her life like, yeah, I can't live the life of a witness, but, I don't think that they're, bad or anything. Like, there's nothing, sinister going on at the top. And that's kind of how I felt for a long time too. When I was physically out, physically out, mentally in, where I was just kind of like, they're the best religion. And, if I have to go back or I'm going to die at Armageddon, and, but I can't right now because I just can't do it. And I think that's kind of the way she was living for years. She lived that way for years until I grew up, woke up, and gave her that book. And then we both got on the same page pretty quickly, which is great, because now she's my best friend, hands down. My mom is my best friend. And she lives in a different state, she lives kind of far away from me, but it's so nice too. We lost so much time together when I was little, and when I was a teenager, it was so rough. And it's like we're finally able to have a relationship that is, a friendship, and with mutual respect. And I'm happy that I was able to help her wake up from what was done to her when she was 9, which was be indoctrinated into a cult. I keep digressing. I think I'm getting tired. I think I have to wrap this up pretty quickly, but I'm sorry. I went through all that like 2007, and then fast forward to like 2011. And I started to get a little curious, about the ex-witness community and what's being said out there. When I first woke up, I did pop Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses into a search engine because I wanted to know if there was, any apostate stuff out there. I wanted to know what all of that said. And I think I put something into YouTube, and this one guy popped up, and he was just an asshole. And he was really mean and real nasty, and I immediately turned it off. I was very turned off by that. I was awake, but I was still very turned off by angry apostates, and I was just like, I don't want to hear how mad you are. I'm mad too, but I'm not gonna, crash a meeting or stand outside the district convention. It's just weird. So that turned me off, just listening to that guy rant and rave. And my only other real, anything I knew about apostates was just them standing outside of my district convention yelling at us. So that kind of turned me off from other ex-witnesses. So about 2011, I was like, oh, let me check this out again. So I searched, and I found a YouTuber named John Cedars, who was kind of one of the first things that popped up. And it was just this British guy that was getting disfellowshipped and writing a letter to his dad. And then he uploaded some videos called Getting to Know You about the governing body. And those are what got me back into the ex-witness community, or pulled me in. Because I left in 2007, woke up in 2007, and the last meeting I had been to was in 2005. So I had no idea that the governing body were like celebrities now. I had no idea. So he posted all this stuff, and I'm like, that's a governing body member saying this and doing what? What is happening to this church? Like, it's not even it is church now, right? So I was floored. I'm like, okay, I have to know more about these weirdos, these governing body members, and all the crazy crap they're saying they're saying on the stage. I was amazed. Things had changed so much in just a handful of years. Whereas when I left, it was still one of those things where you don't know who the governing body is. And that's one of the things that makes us right, is because we don't even know who our leaders are. This also proves we're not a cult. And I'm like, well, now you don't even have that, because these guys are, they're making themselves the face of this religion. So it's really hard to say you're not a cult now, started, so yeah, I kind of got into the whole John Cedars thing, right there real early on the ground floor, and go to watch his channel, like evolve and everything, and that was kind of cool. But I, started watching a lot of these videos, ex-witnesses, and got on jw.org, which I'd never heard of. I'm realizing and noticing now that is stamped on everything of their, like, they have a brand now. Like, things have changed so much. And I guess when you've been out of it since before that, like, it's really shocking to me what they've become. Like, if my grandfather, who was our presiding overseer and the biggest witness I ever met, if he were to just like pop back into existence tomorrow, he would think that this has become false religion, because they are televangelists, they're begging for money, they're the governing body are still making themselves celebrity cult leaders. It's bizarre. It's so bizarre. They're the marketing, the jw.org, I don't even recognize it anymore, and it's such a short period of time that I think things were the same for decades and decades and decades, and then boom, all of a sudden things changed. And I don't know if maybe someone got on the governing body around that time and changed things, or I don't know. But yeah, that's when I really fell down the YouTube rabbit hole. And so here I am in 2021. Um, and I listen to ex Jehovah Witness videos almost every day. I love it. I love it. I love how many people are still waking up and listening to their perspective, and how all of our stories are different, but they're all kind of the same, aren't they? So that makes me feel very, very not alone. Um, and I hope that my videos help somebody um, feel like they're not alone. I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of the stuff that almost all the bad the organization has to offer, aside from being disfellowshipped. But I'm still shunned, so it doesn't really matter. I never disassociated. I'm of the mind that that's playing by their rules and they don't have any power over me. Um, but that that's uh it's not, I think it's a personal thing. You leave how you need to leave. It's for you. Um so yeah, I guess that kind of brings me to now. Again, I got married last year. I have a job that I really, really like, and it's a job. It's definitely hard work, but it's something I can do, and they pay me really well. And yeah, I just feel like my life has really turned around and gotten back on track. And my dad is not a part of my life. My grandmother, not a part of my life. Um, and for a long time, I tried very hard to get them back, like with writing my grandmother letters, and trying to stay in touch with my dad. And I tried very hard for a long time to be able to say that I didn't leave you, you left me. And recently, I've kind of come to the place where I'm better off without them. Like I realized that my life is better when they're not around. Um, that they make my life worse by their very presence. Um, and I don't need them. I mean, they walked away. They told me that it was be in their cult or don't have a family, and I chose to not be in a cult, which isn't wrong. I mean, I'm not the one that's in the cult. They are the ones with the problem. And they have a lot of emotional and mental baggage. And do I really want that in my life? No. So I've kind of come to the place where I am okay with not having any of that side of my family around. And even my mom's family members who are witnesses, I'm way better off without them. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where I am. It's kind of where I am now. If you have made it through all 8 million parts of this video, then oh, wow, my hat's off to you. Thank you for caring. I'm sorry about some of the videos being a little broken up. I am doing this on my phone, so my phone was kind of giving me trouble. But again, thank you for listening. I really, really hope that my story is able to help somebody else out there. I tried to be as thorough as possible because sometimes, like any of these little tiny things that I say happen to me, that happen to someone else, it might help them. So anyway, yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And stay warm, stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy your life.